Hello crafters, welcome to my channel and welcome to another Dollar Tree DIY. Unfortunately, my video cut off and I was lost part of this, and I was showing you how I use these containers from the Dollar Tree to make a storage container. Now I'm using 4 of the plastic drawers. I'm using one of these containers that has the little slots in them here, and then I'm using one plastic storage box that has the lid on it. Now, unfortunately, like I said, it was cut off, and I've started gluing the boxes together. So I glued the boxes together, and all I did, and you really can't see it, but I'll turn it over. The way I did, I usually would use E6000 to glue these together, but in the interest of time today, I was using hot glue. And all I did was put glue along the runners on the top one and glued it to the bottom one. And then what I did was I took paper and slid it in, glued it in here so that you couldn't see the glue. And the drawers still fit very nicely in here with that paper. Then I started working on my boxes, and I will show you the one that I have not done. I'll show you how I do this. But I did this one already. And the measurements for the paper that I use in this, the little strip right here is 4 1/8 by 1 3/16, 7/8 inch, and that's going to go right there. And then the ones that I used for this part right here is 4 1/16 by 4 11/16. Now, 11/16 is that little tick mark right before 3/4. Before the next inch, 5 inches. And of course, you know, the 3/16 is just 3 little dashes over. So how I put these in here was I used Mod Podge. And I like using Mod Podge because it dries clear, and it's easy to clean off if you get any extra on your containers here, which I have some here. I just take a baby wipe and it wipes off. So what we're going to do is, and I'll show you how I did it. Get this little piece of paper out of here. So I just used Mod Podge on the back of the paper. And so I'm just going to swipe it all the way across. So I decided to share this video with you guys because I made one of these for a friend of mine, and it just came out so cute. So I thought I would share with you, and I thought, well, I want one of those too. So let me just record the one I make for myself. So then I'm just going to take my fingers and walk it down, and it fits nicely in here. And to come up with these measurements, honestly, I took this, I laid it on my board, and I measured from the inside line to the inside line, and that's how I came up with the measurements, because the measurements on the box are not true. So you're just going to take your fingers and you're going to smooth this down really well. Any kind of air bubbles or anything that might be in there. Now there's a little bubble right here. That's just that little notch that's on the bottom of a drawer. It'll be all right. Then on this one, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to put some Mod Podge on the front on my pattern piece. And I'm going to slide it in the bottom of my box and then press up onto my lid and use my fingers to work this in. Make sure it's completely stuck and rub it on there. And it will dry clear. I have one that was done earlier, and you can't see any Mod Podge on it. It came out really nice. And it does give it some sturdiness and stuff, because, you know, if you're using these, you're going to need something that's going to be a little sturdy. Okay, so then I'm just going to take some Mod Podge, and I'm going to cover the inside. Now, I'm trying not to get it all over the clear glass, but like I said, if you do, it does wipe off easily. but you do want to cover the surface of your paper. And this just gives it some extra protection. I'm not drowning it with Mod Podge. It's not, I mean, it's not wet, like puddling wet, like we do sometimes with Mod Podge, but it is covered up. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the inside of the lid. Okay, I'm just going to take my finger and wipe that down. Okay. Oops. Get that off. All right. So then we need to let these dry, but they slide in, like I said, really nice, even with that paper on the bottom. And there's those two cases. Now, I'll take my drawers out again. These need to dry. I'm going to glue the cases together like this. Now, I'm going to take the drawers out on both sides, and I'm going to use some clamps just to hold them until the hot glue dries. Now, with hot glue, there is no wiggle room, very slim chance of wiggle room. So, all I'm going to do is between where you see the runners at here, that's where I'm going to add the hot glue, a strip down here and a strip here, and just a little tiny bit at the top. So, I'm going to run that through there, run that through here, and just run a little strip on the bottom. And then you're going to line this up and push it together. And I have the clamps also from the Dollar Tree. And we're just going to clamp that in place and hold it there until the hot glue dries. And I'm pretty impressed. I got that pretty even. Like I said, I did the other one with E6000. And it does take some time. You do need to let this dry overnight if you use E6000. Or you can use some Gorilla Glue. But, word of caution, for whatever reason, my Gorilla Glue glued. It just froze up hard, and I had the cap on it, so I don't know what happened with that. And I find I like using my Gorilla Glue a little bit more than the E6000 because E6000 smells so bad, and I hate it. So, and the Gorilla Glue has no odor, and so I feel like it's not quite as toxic, but it's not quite as toxic as E6000. Alright, so I think that is together now. See? Alright, so the next step we're going to do, before we put these two together, before we put all this together, is to cover this with paper and this with paper. So I'm going to put this aside and let it cure even more. Move my drawers out of the way so they can still continue to dry. Still going to need our E6000. I mean our Mod Podge. Whew. Alright, so what I did is I measured these papers, the little papers here, and I'm going to put them right here on the inside of the little containers. Now, I am making, I don't know if I said this, I'm making this my ink station, and this is going to be where my little makeup, little applicators are that I use for inks and stuff. I cut these at 11/16 of an inch wide and 1 6/16 long. So, all I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm just going to Mod Podge the back of it, and then I'm going to stick it in and press against the back. And I'm going to tell you how I came up with the measurements for these. It's really kind of hard measuring all this stuff. So all I did was cut a strip of paper almost an inch and saw it was a little bit too small. And then I just went back and trimmed just a teeny tiny bit off each time until I came up with a perfect fit at 11/16 of an inch. I stuck the paper in, and I bent it at the top, and then went below like a 1/16 of an inch of that to come up with my measurements. I'm telling you. It was kind of wild, but really fun. I had so much fun figuring out how to do this and coming up with the measurements and stuff and just playing. This was one of those crafts that I just dearly loved. And so, whoops. And it really is easy to do. It is a little tedious with cutting up paper and stuff, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing this for somebody else, and I've thoroughly enjoyed making mine since I already had the measurements that time. And so I'm just going to continue doing this, gluing in the little tabbies. Okay, I'm on my last